So why don't we I'm really interested in picking your brain about kind of shifting back to modern gaming again.
Mhm.
Um, you know, in the last several years, WotC has kind of had a few kind of PR stumbles, you know.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's really opened the door for not just some of the older, Troll Lord games,
yeah.
Paizo, those guys, but a lot of new gaming companies have sprung up. Shadow Dark being a good example. And I don't want to say taken advantage of, but it's given players kind of the wherewithal to explore new things and realize, hey, there's all this really cool stuff out there. So do you have a favorite non-D&D system?
I'm gonna have to open up a Dr. Pepper here for this, which is that's Steve Chenault's favorite drink is not
Uh,
diet, but Dr. Pepper. So I think if you're looking for uh, a great old school system that's well developed, well thought out, a lot of support from a great company, I would say Castles and Crusades is probably the spiritual successor to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So I like the people. They are all U.S., all U.S., all printed in the U.S. So very patriotic company, and it's a good system. So Castles and Crusades is excellent, and they're building market. They're doing quite well. They're also I'm working with them as consulting and working on Castle Zagig and other projects with them. So they're great.
yeah, we are wrapping up our last 5e campaign and we're moving to Castles and Crusades. So we're awful excited about that.
Yeah, Castles and Crusades was kind of designed with my dad in mind because he was working with them at the time that they developed that. So Mac Golden and Steve Chenault were working on Castles and Crusades, but they ran all of it past my father first to say, "Hey, what do you think of this, Gary?" And he was like, "No, no, no, I would do it this way or that way." And so they kind of made sure he was comfortable working in that system. And it's really it's like the spiritual successor to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. They came up with the Siege engine, which essentially is very similar to what 5e uses with difficulty checks or whatever. So I forgot they call them what,
Yeah, it
something
kind of replaces all the
challenges or
skill
whatever.
checks and
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, but it's usually based against a stat vice a skill.
yeah. So it's like less homework or less paperwork essentially.
Yeah. Right.
I was actually just reading up last night, and I like the system. My wife loves the system. She actually played it first time at GaryCon, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's great. You know,
It is
uh,
it is cool. It's a great system, and it's what Castle Zaggig is being published in as well, which is my father's home dungeon. So the first part of that is out. Uh, you know, uh, I think it's fulfilling here in a couple of months, and then the second iteration, the second part of Castle Zaggig to complete the set will be out in the first quarter of 2026. The Kickstarter will open up.
I've got my first part, just waiting on that second. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. Uh, Another system that I learned a little bit more recently, and I've done a little bit of design work in, and I would like to do a bunch more, is the basic role-playing system. That's what Chaosium uses. So you've
okay.
got RuneQuest, which Mike Mearls is working on, probably just finished up the latest kind of edition or rule set for RuneQuest, and Chaosium just celebrated their 50th anniversary. It's a company, great group of guys, Jeff Richard and Rick Meintz and Neil, all really, really cool guys. And then, of course, Kelsey designed Shadow Dark at GaryCon. That's where did a lot of her design work, and she was a platinum badge holder. I think she still buys a platinum badge to come to GaryCon. I'm like, I can make you guys. She's like, no, I want to support your convention, so I'm buying buying a badge. So I'm
She's
like,
like the
okay.
nicest person ever.
Oh my gosh, so nice. She's great, and she
Yeah.
obviously was in part of Founders and Legends, the first one. She had something going on this year, so she couldn't make it. There's something about the Western March or Western Marches or something like that. Anyway, it was like a huge couple $1 million Kickstarter. So of course she was
Yeah.
busy. I totally get it. But she'll be back. She's back for
I
2026
saw
season
that
three
she's
of
a
Founders and
sponsor
Legends.
this year.
Yeah, she's sponsored this year, and she's a sponsor next year too. We just gotta get that inked. They've been busy with lots of stuff, but no, Kelsey's fantastic. Love
Oh
Kelsey, and
yeah.
Shadow Dark is great. So I write for Shadow Dark. I do Call of Cthulhu stuff. played some RuneQuest, would like to design for RuneQuest. I've written Castles and Crusades modules as well. I like that. Other systems, I haven't played Daggerheart. That's like, some new hotness from Darrington Press. I do like those guys. Matt Mercer is like genuinely a very kind human being, and the rest of the folks have been nothing but welcoming at the Critical Role and Darrington Press. So I'd like to support Daggerheart and see them do well, just based on them being cool.
Yeah.
Um, and there's so many other game systems out there that are just, you know, they're just hard. I mean, the
Um,
board, Mork Borg, Pirate Borg, all those are tons of fun. Oh,
yes.
Mike Merles ran some OSE stuff for me that was super fun. Just basic D&D, right?
And
Um,
and that just goes to show like there's just so much out there. Like if you're playing five, I'm just talking to
yeah.
the folks out there. If you're playing 5e today, there are so many cool options out there that you don't have to like say we're abandoning our campaign for this, but you could give it a weekend try, and
Change
so
it
many
up.
of these
Just
books,
a little like, an amuse
yeah,
bouche, as they would say in the culinary
palate
world.
cleanser.
That's right.
So
Gen Con had so many TTRPGs. Oh my goodness. Every other vendor was selling their own game.
And honestly, that's problematic. What? Because people said, well, why don't you make a role-playing game? No, 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 no. There's so
Why?
many systems out there. Unless I
Yeah.
had something that was truly revolutionary and just like no one's ever thought of this, is most amazing. Probably not. I just need
Nope.
to, I need to create adventure scenarios for, well, obviously you want to do it for the one that has the most market share, typically,
Right.
right? Right, which has been D&D. But gosh, Shadow Dark is so much fun. I was like, I want to do that. Like
and it's
Kelsey's, this
really
is a fun
blown
game.
up. It is
Yeah,
blown
it's
up.
it's great. And there's other, in Call of Cthulhu, so much fun. And it's very different, right? RuneQuest also has a very old school feel, and it's not level based, so that's like a different kind of
I've
approach.
got
So
the original RuneQuest box set, and that it by itself, like I like to dabble in other systems and then kind of
yeah,
adapt them to what we're doing. And
yep.
that is one that has some very unique qualities.
And they have some great lore. The Glorantha has been developed a bunch, and so that's also a lot of fun and great system. And then of course I'm wondering, what Wizards of the Coast will do, because I'm sure they've had a pretty big turnover at Wizards of the Coast, right? So I would imagine that they'll do something to kind of revitalize, reconnect, and build stronger bonds with the community is what I
Well,
would suspect.
one would hope. One would hope. I think
I
that we're supposed to have the last season of Stranger Things later this year, and I'm sure that that's going to impact the sales, and maybe they'll try and bring it back in another way. I know
Yeah.
that there's still a lot of conversation about turning it more into a board game or more into a video game. I know that there was also a release at Gen Con for Sims of all things, which is a video game. It's a
Yeah.
computer game. It's always been a computer game, and suddenly they created a board game for Sims. And so I wonder if WotC, I know, right? I didn't try it. I listened to it for a bit and I was like, this is weird. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why would you do this? But I wonder if WotC is going to see something like that and how they found a way to translate it. And then they're just going to try and translate it into a board game kind of setting or create more video games. And so now it's just going to become a video game.
Yeah. Well, I've heard some good things from folks in the industry who know Dan, the current head of D&D, and so I'm cautiously optimistic, and I would love to see them move in a way that reconnects with the community and kind of the core of what tabletop role playing is. Now, video games are cool; they're fun. I mean, look at Baldur's Gate 3. Holy smokes, that was a great video game. It was
Well,
really good.
I I really liked Baldur's Gate
Yeah.
3. I think that Divinity 2 was better.
Okay. I
I
never played
think
it.
I think it was better. In my
Okay.
opinion, it was much better. I think Baldur's Gate 3 fell into the same bad pattern that 5e has, where a lot of the characters were very homogenous. It didn't
Ah,
matter who was talking to who. I played with a friend of mine, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm the bard. Let me do this." And he's like, "Nah, it doesn't matter." Yes, it does. And then he inevitably, like, not even a problem. It was
yeah.
fine. He managed to get past it. I'm like, "Oh, so it doesn't matter." And that's the biggest problem that I had with Baldur's Gate, but it was beautiful. It was a beautiful
Yeah.
game.
I
Yeah,
still
and I
play
thought,
the old Temple of an Elemental Evil game that came out after third edition. Um, there's a there. I know the initial release was just fraught with bugs, but they released the source code, and a bunch of fans of the game went through and they cleaned it all up. And you
Yeah.
can download. I can't remember what it's called now. It's like the Circle of Seven or the Circle of
oh, okay.
Eight. There's like
Yeah,
a software patch that you can install for it. And not only does it clean up all the bugs, but adds a ton of content.
cool.
And it takes off the level cap because you can go on to other cities. And yeah, I mean it's quite good. Uh, but I still love that game, mostly because there are, depending on your alignment that you take your party in as, there are so many different paths you can take, adventure paths. It's pretty done pretty well for a game from the 90s or whatever it was.
Yeah. No, that is neat that it still has playability today. I like it's not role playing, but I like turn-based strategy games.
Me
So
too.
I'll find myself playing like Panzer General 2 or People's General or whatever, those series. I can't play Steel Panthers. Like I Steel Panthers 3, it's just too slow. I can't do it anymore. But I thought it was really neat because it's you can pick either World War II battles or I'd go like we're fighting Russia in like 1988 or something like that. But what I liked is you would have your artillery and you'd plan your target reference points, which is where the guns are, know where to point where likely enemy are coming from. And then let's say you didn't get that right, or the enemy's moving, some ways away from there. You move your artillery, direct them to attack there and say attack on that round. It might take 2 rounds for them to move the gun tubes and then shoot. So, and by then you might have put your own troops there. You're like, where did my? So yeah, it's funny. Anyway, it was like it was realistic in that sense, and it gave you a lot of data on uh, if people were, shooting at the front slope of an armor would give you the calculations on what that was like, or if you're moving your troops in, personnel carriers and it get hit, they'd get out and they'd be confused or whatever it is. Anyway, super nerdy wargamer stuff, and it was a lot of fun, but it's a little slow nowadays for my taste. So,
Yokoya, she likes the strategy games. We do like we will play Axis and Allies online quite a bit,
okay.
which isn't necessarily realistic, but it's a blast from the past. It's
Oh,
fun.
it's so fun. Yeah, I loved Axis and Allies. I've got Samurai Swords and Axis and Allies up there. I haven't played those in a while. I might have
I
to torture my kids.
I grew up on Civilization when I was really young. My dad introduced me to Civilization for the first time, and ever since then, like that's it. Strategy
You're,
has.
have you
Oh,
played the board game Civ?
no, I
I
haven't.
have it, Yokoya. Next time you come visit, I have
Yeah.
Yep.
Civilization.
All
It's
right.
fun. It's a lot like the old Civ, old original Civ, like Civ 1 computer game. But yeah, Peter Adkison likes to play that one. I think he invited me to come up and play like a massive 18-player giant Civ game
Whoa,
on some weekend, and I'm like,
that would be the
it's
whole
during
weekend.
it's October where I'm potentially going to Gamehole, uh, Kazimkan, Poland, and maybe Eschenspiel. So it's like, ooh, I